scan your head? Like you're a cashier and I'm a bunch of bananas? I'm not bananas, you are.
That's not really funny to people who've lost their kids to this vaccine. How dare you be so flippant, man?
Whoopi Goldberg, because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week.
Following our last video on this topic, many of you practically begged for a deep dive into the soap opera that is Bill Maher versus Whoopi Goldberg. And guess what? We listened and we dug deep. And oh boy, the Bill Maher Whoopi Goldberg saga is less tip of the iceberg and more Titanic-sized cultural collision. Turns out what we scratched was just the crusty surface of Hollywood's most awkward ideological tango. This isn't just a spat between two celebrities. It's a high-stakes battlefield where free speech clashes head-on with the self-righteous gavel of woke policing. It's comedy versus cancel culture, logic versus outrage, and a fight for the soul of a society teetering on the edge of perpetual offense. And here's the kicker. Neither Hollywood nor Whoopi was ready for Maher's calm yet razor-sharp takedown. So buckle up, because we're peeling back the curtain to reveal the drama, the hypocrisy, and the uncomfortable truths Hollywood would rather you ignore. Let's roll. Let's take you back to almost 3 years ago when Bill Maher said this about
Knows Corona is no walk in the park, because you literally can't walk in the park. But at some point, the daily drumbeat of depression and terror veers into panic porn. Enough with the life will never be the same headlines. And stop showing us this. You know, everything looks scary when you magnify it 1,000 times. Here's a pubic hair. Boom!
Bill Maher had officially had it with the never-ending media circus and apocalyptic doom-mongering about the coronavirus. While everyone else seemed to be stockpiling toilet paper and virtue signaling about their 37th booster shot, Maher was out here preaching the radical idea of living. He believed we needed to adjust, adapt, and for heaven's sake, move on with our lives instead of letting the virus hold us hostage. But oh no, the woke mob wasn't having it. To them, Maher's call for resilience and sanity was practically a hate crime. Apparently suggesting we find a balance between caution and normalcy was as scandalous as skipping leg day at the gym. And that was when Whoopi Goldberg chimed in.
Not really funny to people who've lost their kids to this vaccine, or people who've lost family members or dear friends to this. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention, and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to, then stay out of the public, man. This is not, nobody wants this. And I think he's forgetting that people are still at risk who cannot get vaccinated. People who can't get that. Little kids under the age of 5. Or people with health conditions. How dare you be so flippant?
For you, always ready to pounce when someone dares to utter a sentence that doesn't come with a woke-approved stamp. Bill Maher's crime, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, we should stop treating normalcy like a mythical unicorn and, you know, go back to living our lives. But Whoopi wasn't having it. Oh no, she eviscerated him as if he'd suggested replacing yoga with dodgeball at a woke retreat. But here's the twist. Instead of generating public backlash for Maher, Whoopi's fiery comments turned on her. Fans loved Maher's COVID take more than Whoopi's unsolicited advice, which earned him massive public support even from the ABC network. The puppet masters behind The View. They sent Whoopi to the TV penalty box for a 2-week timeout, proving even Hollywood has a limit to its woke indulgence. Fans gleefully called it karma, but Maher, oh, he had a spicy take of his own, because if there's one thing Bill loves more than being right, it's making sure everyone knows he's right.
I'm saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Yep, Bill Maher, in this case, is the lion, and Whoopi Goldberg is the overly confident big game hunter who brought a Nerf gun to the savannah. She set out on the hunt to destroy Maher, armed with her woke outrage and moral superiority. But Maher, ever the elusive and cunning lion, calmly turned the tables and left Whoopi caught in her own trap, tangled in the net of her own hypocrisy. It's the classic story of the woke mob, always prowling, always hunting for someone to cancel, only to end up shooting themselves in the foot. They're like amateur magicians, constantly pulling controversy out of a hat and acting shocked when the trick backfires. Maher didn't just survive, he thrived, leaving Goldberg with nothing but her bruised ego and a 2-week suspension to reflect on her failed safari. Sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted, and who doesn't love a good twist ending? You'd be forgiven to think that Whoopi learned her lessons, but nope, she was back swinging. Sadly, she made one of the gravest mistakes in her life.
Cost isn't about race. It's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Goldberg boldly claimed that the Holocaust wasn't racially motivated, but simply a case of the Nazis being inhumane, because apparently the swastika wasn't a big enough hint. Not only did this Oscar-winning actress deliver a historical blunder of epic proportions, but she also managed to ignite a firestorm of outrage from Jewish communities and their allies. The uproar was so loud it probably echoed through the ABC boardroom, where executives suddenly remembered that The View comes with consequences. Naturally, the show received its fair share of backlash too, because giving Goldberg a microphone is like handing dynamite to someone with a shaky understanding of history. But instead of eating a humble pie and apologizing not only for her obvious historical error, but also for her inflammatory statements, Whoopi doubled down.
An experience tends to be based on skin.
Yes. And so that is what race means to me. When you talk about being a racist, I was saying you can't call this racism. This was evil. This wasn't based on the skin. You couldn't tell who was Jewish. They had to delve deeply to figure.
The statement ignited a firestorm of outrage among fans worldwide, many of whom practically demanded Whoopi's head on a silver platter. For the second time in her tenure on The View, Whoopi earned herself a cozy 2-week suspension, proof that even Hollywood's darlings aren't immune to their own reckless commentary. But hey, that's what you get when you play the woke game and lose. It's like stepping into quicksand. The harder you try to moralize your way out, the faster you sink. Maybe next time Whoopi will think twice before rewriting history on live television, or not. Now, here's the interesting and shocking part. Bill Maher, the nemesis of Whoopi, could have capitalized on this moment and completely annihilated the actress, but no, he rather extended an olive branch. He still stood by his principles that free speech should remain free speech, and that no one should be punished for speaking their minds, even if they are wrong.
Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a time.
Maher, ever the classic gentleman, stuck by his principles like a pro. Even when it came to Whoopi, he didn't kick her while she was down, proving once again that he's not just clever, but classy too. Now, imagine for a second if the tables were turned and Maher was the one on the floor. Do you think the woke mob would have shown restraint? Oh, please. They'd have pounced on him faster than a vegan at a salad bar. The same crowd that preaches compassion and second chances would have turned into a pitchfork-wielding mob, gleefully canceling Maher before he could even say free speech. Woke culture loves to tout its moral superiority until their values are inconvenient, at which point they rewrite the playbook. It's like watching a group of toddlers who make up new rules mid-game just to win. Principles? Consistency? Not in their vocabulary. So to get one over Bill Maher, this group of political toddlers invited him to their den. There, they tried all sorts of tricks to get Bill Maher into a tight corner, including twisting her words.
Different question. But it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
I know you've seen this clip a million times, so we won't bore you with the full version. But here's something to pay attention to. The woke mob always attacks in packs. They're like a pride of lions hunting their prey. Sure, you might spot one out in the open, but trust me, the rest are lurking in the bushes, sharpening their claws. Case in point, the ladies on The View invited Bill Maher on under the guise of promoting his new book, What This Comedian Said Will Shock. But instead of discussing the book, they saw it as the perfect chance to exact their revenge on the man who dared to challenge their sacred narratives. Unfortunately for them, Maher isn't just a comedian, he's a strategist. He saw the ambush coming a mile away and sidestepped their attacks with the kind of poise that makes lions look like clumsy house cats.
Any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left? Watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas? That straightened me up pretty quick.
Just like that, Maher looked the View host square in the eye and unapologetically laid out exactly why he refuses to march in lockstep with the woke mob. It was a moment so refreshingly blunt that you could practically hear the collective gasp from the audience. Maher didn't tiptoe or sugarcoat his words. He called out the endless virtue signaling, the hypocrisy, and the performative outrage that have become the hallmarks of the woke agenda. It's not that he's against progress, it's that he's against a culture where progress means silencing dissent and punishing people for thinking differently. Of course, the hosts were left blinking, trying to process what just happened. Maher didn't just reject their narrative, he dismantled it calmly and fearlessly, leaving them scrambling for a rebuttal. When they realized that they couldn't bait the old fox Bill Maher, they left him off the hook, but trust Whoopi Goldberg to come for her pound of flesh.
This should be against the law. You should not be able to lie to the American knowingly. What do we do as Americans to say this is not okay?
You'd have to say to the First Amendment.
Yeah.
I think the
First Amendment doesn't allow you to willingly.
Whoopi realized she couldn't outwit Bill Maher with a direct attack. She shifted gears and decided to target what he passionately stood for: free speech, logic, and the ability to question authority without fear of cancellation. It was a classic deflection tactic. If you can't beat the person, try to discredit their principles. She attempted to paint Maher's firm stance on free speech as reckless, outdated, and even dangerous, a move straight out of the woke mob playbook. But Maher, ever the master of debate, wasn't about to let her reframe the narrative. Instead, he calmly yet devastatingly reminded her and everyone watching that challenging ideas isn't dangerous. It's essential for progress. Whoopi's move backfired spectacularly, exposing not Maher's weaknesses, but her own.
The commencement address at Berkeley, someone has to check in with the people who tried to have my speech canceled and make sure they made it through.
Bill Maher, ever the sharp-witted lion in a den of hyenas, held his ground effortlessly, even as Whoopi and her woke entourage threw everything but the kitchen sink at him in their quest to cancel him. Deplatforming him? Oh, they probably had the email draft ready to send to every streaming service. But Maher, with his trademark smirk and unshakable logic, wasn't just surviving their attacks, he was thriving. The irony? The very people screaming for tolerance and diversity of thought were doing everything they could to silence one of the few voices that dared to challenge their orthodoxy. Maher didn't just keep his wits about him, he used them to turn the entire spectacle into yet another showcase of their hypocrisy. In fact, some fans think that Whoopi should be grateful to free speech stalwarts for standing their ground, given the amount of misinformation and crazy statements she's been putting out since she joined The View. Y'all remember when she lied about some bakery?
A lot of talk about the dessert I requested for my birthday show. The place that made these refused to make them for me. They said that their ovens had gone down, all kinds of stuff. Perhaps they did not like my politics.
Now, Whoopi didn't exactly spill the tea about where the cupcakes were from, but leave it to the internet detectives to crack the case. Turns out they traced the sweets back to Holterman's, a Staten Island bakery that's been delighting locals for over 140 years. And yet, Whoopi decided it was the perfect opportunity to pull a Jussie Smollett-esque drama card on them. Cue the bakery's response, which was equal parts polite and unintentionally hilarious. They explained that their equipment is practically ancient, so much so it probably qualifies as a historical artifact, and frequent mechanical breakdowns are just part of their charm. Oh, and by the way, they had no clue Whoopi was the customer, because, spoiler alert, their ovens don't care about celebrity status. They just malfunction indiscriminately.
Up at 3 or 4 o'clock every morning. The sacrifices they've made, the holidays they've missed with their families. To make Staten Island better, they have sacrificed for 145 years. And frankly, the people who defamed the Holterman family should apologize to the Holterman family for making stuff up to suit their needs. Not everybody wakes up every day and thinks about politics. A good business person doesn't care about anybody's politics.
Once again, the internet descended on the Serafina actor, calling her out for spinning a tale about a small, family-run bakery, all in what appeared to be an effort to drum up some public sympathy and maybe snag a few cheap political points. Seriously, Whoopi, of all the villains you could have chosen, you went after a bakery, a place that's been churning out cupcakes and cookies longer than most of us have been alive. The internet wasn't having it. Social media lit up with people roasting her faster than a fresh batch of muffins, pointing out the absurdity of lying about a bakery that's more beloved than some sitcoms. Even more ironic, she probably thought she'd come across as relatable by going after the little guy. Instead, she ended up looking like the Grinch trying to cancel Christmas cookies. Moral of the story, don't mess with bakers. They're needing more dough than drama. But does Whoopi ever learn? Here's a clip of her trying to identify with the middle-class workers who voted massively for Donald Trump.
Appreciate that people are having a hard time. Me too.
Yeah.
I work for a living. If I had all the money in the world, I would not be here. I literally just work.
Now, this is coming from someone who once loudly demanded that liars should be thrown in jail. And here she is, caught spinning tales like it's an Olympic sport. Irony much? The cherry on top. Whoopi Goldberg, a Hollywood elite allegedly pulling in a $100,000 a week paycheck, has the audacity to play the struggling every woman card. Compare that to the $1,600 a weekish salary of the average American, and it's clear who's really out of touch. But wait, there's more. Some sources claim Whoopi's net worth is a cool $60 million, and she recently inked an $8 million deal with ABC to sit on the View panel and dish out opinions like cupcakes. It's the classic woke mob playbook. Cry victim, twist the narrative, and hope nobody notices the glaring contradictions. They thrive on convincing the masses they're just like you while sipping organic lattes from gold-plated mugs. Whoopi's version of relatability is like a billionaire lamenting yacht fuel prices, just laughably tone-deaf. Many fans who watched that episode tore into Goldberg for her tone-deaf comments. One wrote, "We have spoken Whoopi. We can't stand you. Working women don't watch you. We're at work." Another also commented, "This is why Americans don't need the Hollywood elite to tell us who to vote for. They are oblivious to the sacrifices many Americans have to make to just make ends meet." Others also saw the irony in Whoopi Goldberg's comment about the working class. One of them wrote, $60 million net worth and an annual contract with the View of $8 million. Oh gee, I wish I could struggle financially with that salary. Sweetie, you do have all the money in the world. You don't have to work. You don't know what it is like to have to work. Maybe you need a reality check. Some commenters even reined in her previous gaffes on set. Remember her comment about the Holocaust not being about race, and she only got suspended for a couple of weeks. If she was a conservative person or worked at a regular job, management would have fired her for that remark.
Why do y'all need us to say this if we don't feel comfortable saying it?
No, it's not that we need you to say it, but I think other folks need to hear, because, you know, one of the things I'm sorry, just jumped you, I'm sorry, but one of the things that we've been talking about is the fact that getting facts out through the media seems to be very...
Here's a genius strategy straight out of the woke playbook. Parade as many celebrities as humanly possible to endorse Biden, because nothing says qualified to lead a nation like a pop star or a guy who once played a president in a movie. Apparently the thought process is simple. Slap a familiar face on a campaign, sprinkle in some melodramatic speeches, and voila. Americans are supposed to forget about actual policies and just vote based on who their favorite actor thinks is totally awesome. Because clearly nothing screams democracy like turning politics into a celebrity influencer campaign. But Whoopi made a statement that we found pretty disingenuous. She claimed that the press made it difficult for the Democrats to send their message across. That's why they needed celebrities like Charlemagne to endorse Biden. Now, isn't it the same Democrats that successfully got the media to cover up Hunter Biden's story in the lead up to the election? So what's Whoopi talking about? No wonder Bill Maher tore into her for that disingenuous statement.
Appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden.
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course, you don't
but
follow
I'm
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
Yep, Bill Maher was spot on with this one. Let's be honest. How many of us saw the media dissect the Hunter Biden story with the same level of enthusiasm they reserved for Trump's gaffes? Spoiler alert. Close to zero. The press treated Trump's every misspoken word like it was the scoop of the century, but when it came to Hunter, they suddenly got stage fright. It's almost as if the media had a collective agreement. Laptop, what laptop? Quick, show a Trump meme. Double standards much. It's like watching a referee call every foul on one team while handing out participation trophies to the other. Journalism, ladies and gentlemen. So not only was Whoopi dead wrong in claiming that Democrats don't control the media, but Charlemagne made the smart move by refusing to publicly endorse Biden. Naturally, Charlemagne's defiance didn't sit well with the ever-vindictive Whoopi. Clearly unable to let it go, she decided to make his next appearance on The View, her personal battleground. When Charlemagne returned to the show, Goldberg wasted no time sharpening her claws, ready to pounce and turn the conversation into a one-sided ambush. Classic Whoopi, always ready to dish it out, but never quite prepared to take it.
They were calling Trump a threat to democracy, and they were saying that, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him. That's what they were running on. So when he kept saying things like, nobody's above the law, I respect, the jury's decision in regards to my son, he didn't believe that. But he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his...
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend? Oh.
No.
Whoopi seemed so desperate to get her pound of flesh that she didn't even bother pretending to care about the truth. President Biden campaigned on the grand promise that no one is above the law and vowed to punish anyone who broke it. Noble, right? But when his own family decided to play fast and loose with the same laws, suddenly exceptions were everywhere. Apparently some people are above the law. You just have to share a last name with the president. To Whoopi, this wasn't Biden breaking a promise or lying. No. He was just an exhausted dad, tired of people being mean to his little boy. However, Charlemagne stood his ground, arguing that the Democrats have always claimed the moral high ground and should uphold it, even when their backs are against the wall.
At some point, you get to the place where you just go, so I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that
You're
go out.
mis-
They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground.
Listen,
They don't have to do that.
I'm a Democrat. Tell me what the moral high ground is.
The moral high ground is nobody's above the law. I respect what the jurors are saying.
To Charlemagne for holding his ground in the lioness's den, but did Whoopi seriously just suggest that sticking to the straight and narrow isn't always necessary? That compromising one's values is perfectly fine when it's convenient? Bravo. Whoopi, you've just confirmed what we've been saying about the woke mob for weeks. They cling to their so-called high moral standards only when it benefits them, but the moment the odds turn against them, they abandon that moral hill faster than the Flash on a caffeine binge. Consistency clearly isn't their strong suit. Flexibility, however, is practically an art form, and that is why Bill Maher has always clashed with Whoopi Goldberg, because unlike Whoopi, Maher believes in holding steadily to your convictions even when your back is against the wall, even when it is extremely painful.
Is it worth the pain? Is free speech worth the pain? And is it really painful? Is it really painful? If you don't like this guy, don't go to his lecture.
Bill Maher has been a staunch free speech absolutist since time immemorial, fiercely defending this cornerstone of democracy. Over the years, he's made it his mission to verbally dismantle anyone or any institution that dares to trample on that constitutional right. Whether it's cancel culture warriors, political power players, or the hypersensitive masses who clutch their pearls at every controversial statement, Maher spares no one. His sharp wit and unapologetic candor have made him both a hero and a headache, depending on which side of the free speech debate you're on. Love him or hate him, Maher remains unwavering, consistently championing the idea that free speech isn't just a privilege. It's a right worth fighting for, even when it offends. But Whoopi Goldberg, she'd rather toss anyone she disagrees with into prison, which explains why these two celebrities are constantly at odds. One stands firmly by the truth, no matter the cost, while the other shifts her stance like a chameleon adapting to its surroundings.
Jones, who is not my friend and who tells crazy lies about me, is thrown off Twitter, I think, and Facebook and a few other platforms. I think he's going to...
Thank God.
Well, if you're a liberal, you're supposed to be for free speech. That's free speech for the speech you hate. That's what free speech means.
Maher's principles are genuinely admirable, which is why he's earned the respect of fans on both sides of the political divide. A rare feat in today's hyper-partisan world. Love him or hate him. At least you know where he stands. Sadly, the same can't be said for Whoopi Goldberg. Her principles seem more like suggestions, adjustable and conveniently forgotten when the moment calls for it. Are the two still friends? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, their ideological differences couldn't be starker if they were hosting rival late-night shows. Maher is all about consistency and calling out hypocrisy, while Goldberg seems to approach the truth like it's a buffet, picking and choosing what suits her appetite that day. For now, both Goldberg and Maher seem to have holstered their weapons, taking a much-needed break from sniping at each other. It's been surprisingly quiet. Almost too quiet. But let's be honest, with their fiery personalities, this truce probably has the lifespan of a Hollywood marriage. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe they'll find common ground and shock us all. Or more likely, they'll lock horns again over the next hot-button issue that sets social media ablaze. After all, neither of them is exactly known for biting their tongue. So grab your popcorn and stay tuned, because when these two finally come out of their corners, it'll be a showdown worth watching. Drama is practically their second language. And with that, we conclude today's video. If you loved our analysis, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more in-depth analysis such as this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the